Be careful.
He's and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Don't smell this.
We usually drink bourbon on our end
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
And welcome to the Acement, everybody. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Ace Aceto.
And thank you so much for joining us.
I've never waved at the audience. I figured I'd wave tonight.
I had such a smooth run there, too, and you got to throw me off once again. But thank you so much for joining us, as you guys do every week. If you are watching us live, thank you so very much. We love when you guys join us. Don't forget to chat something if you have questions, if you have comments. That's what the live show is all about. If you're listening and you want to join us live every Wednesday night at 8:30, we go live on twitch.tv/drinks, jokes, and storytelling, or follow Behind the Funny Podcast on Facebook. And what are we drinking this week, Ace? What's our
really
date?
good. Our bourbon date this week is a repeat, but it's a beautiful repeat. We haven't seen her in a few weeks. It's Four Roses, small batch, Kentucky bourbon.
One we discovered not too long ago, and we enjoy it very much. So
Yes.
cheers. And cheers to our guest. Clinkies.
From across the table. And we've been wanting this guy back for so long. You've heard us talk about him. You've heard us talk about the infamous episode.
Is he sublimated?
Season 2. Is it season 2? It was season 2.
Yes, it was. Right? It was season 2.
And this was the infamous episode where we had an amazing, almost 2-hour discussion with our guest, and about 20 minutes
with about 20 minutes of great audio.
And then after that, it sounded like the end of the Pink Floyd song "Wish You Were Here," where it goes, and then it sounded.
That's just the way I sound.
Yeah, but now you sound better because we have a voice analyzer now. We've kind of come up in the world.
The last time we were at a restaurant too.
That's true.
To do it in a public restaurant.
But you know what? We had Red Peters at that same restaurant. Yeah. Didn't have any issues with the sound. We had a couple of people at that restaurant.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, we still don't know, right?
No.
The only good thing is Scott got rid of that equipment, that portable equipment, not long after. So someone else's problem.
Sold it to some guy off of, he's probably watching.
Yeah, I just did his podcast last week.
Right.
Yeah, we heard it. Yeah, not really.
Yeah, right. All right. Anyway, so our guest, we asked them back because we're like, hey, first of all, it's been a couple of years. And second of all, we'd like to hear them this time. So please welcome to the Behind the Funny Acement Studios, Mr. Steve Bjork.
Do I wave?
You can wave.
Actually, I don't know. I think Scott's looking at me. You're checking out the camera.
I'm looking all over.
Wherever you want.
I'm just going to look at the caricature over there.
Yeah, look at my caricature.
Is that supposed to be you?
That is me from when I first started.
Charlie Hall drew that.
Is that right?
Yeah, yes, the great Charlie Hall.
The legendary Periwinkle's Comedy Club. When you knew you made it at Periwinkle's.
I remember Periwinkle.
When Charlie would do a caricature and it went up on the wall. That's how you knew it. And that was my original caricature that Charlie did. I was 21 years old when he did that. So. And now the audience can't see any of this shit, so they're wondering what the fuck is he talking about?
They're watching a guy turn around and look at the wall behind
himself.
Riveting.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Riveting.
Well, he's brought it up.
Great radio.
Yeah, I know. Well, I struggled on how to say your name because we've also butchered your name, like our friend Mike Murray.
We can't help it.
We can't help it.
Whenever you bring up Mike Murray, you have to do
especially
some of the great mispronunciations that Mike has.
Well,
and your last name is one of my favorite Mike mispronunciations.
I have never corrected him.
No.
Why bother?
Because I enjoy it.
Yes. Your last name's not that hard to say.
Steve Bjork.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is he acts like when he meets someone, No one else, he's got this secret. Oh, dude,
You ever
You
work
know-
with Steve Bjork?
you know who's funny? There's this guy in Boston, Steve Bjork. He's hilarious. That's hilarious. Like he found you. Like I didn't know you for 20 years before that. You know?
Well, no, I was cleaning toilets, and then Mike said, "Hey, you know any jokes?"
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm gonna give you a try.
Yeah.
But look, my name has been mispronounced my entire life, and I can tell the generation you're from by when I spell it. They go, "Oh, like Bjorn Borg, you're my parents' age."
Right.
Oh, like the singer Bjork, you're our age.
Right.
And now there was a Bruins player for a while, for a couple of years. His name was Bjork, and that was starting to catch on.
Yeah.
But it's Bjork. So I've had to spell it all my life.
Right.
And like somebody's there and they're writing, and I have to stop. If I go Bjork, they go B, and then they don't believe me.
Yeah. Right. There's
Like you're making that up.
So this is how I spell it every time now. Bjork.
Because if you just go over the J to the O, they're stuck.
Yeah, I gotta go BJ. And they still stop. And I go, trust me.
Trust me, it's there.
Trust me.
Yeah.
I've got documentation.
Got my birth certificate.
It's like my father always said. It's spelled that way because the Swedes never knew how to spell. That's right.
Well, the funny thing is, it's not like it's a long name either.
No.
It's not like it's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Whoa, that's impressive.
It's mighty precocious.
If you like the sound of it.
I forgot the rest.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I was hoping you did.
I don't know. Anyway, poor Steve. He's like, I just wanted to spell my name. The two clowns are talking about fucking Mary Poppins.
No, and I'm glad we have you back on.
Yeah.
You know, now since I think I don't know how you're finding it, but this year seems like finally comedy is getting its legs again.
Kind of.
You know, shows are getting more normal again.
Unless you're on the Oscars.
Well, I was leaning towards that.
Let's address the elephant in the room.
Well, let's jump right into that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what does this mean for comedy performances? Because I've seen it going back and forth all week on social media. There's a lot of.
I haven't really commented on it. But
I haven't
opinion
either,
about
but man, there's strong opinions both ways.
Yeah.
And have you ever had a confrontation while you were on stage?
Sure.
You have, because your act isn't very confrontational.
I'm not confrontational,
No.
but I do crowd work if I have to.
Yeah.
And generally, if I have, well, sometimes I do it for fun, but mostly I like to do my material.
Right.
But if I have to, then usually it's because there's an issue going on.
Right.
Right.
So there have been a couple of times, nobody's ever come up on the stage at me,
Yeah.
Okay.
but I've had people waiting out in the parking lot. There's and it's been a long time,
Yeah.
but there were times when things got dicey. Yeah, absolutely. But no, I've never had anybody rush the stage.
Storm the stage
Yeah.
or anything. I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I've heard of it happening, but it's never happened. I think because if I make fun of someone in the crowd, I've already made fun of myself first, or I very quickly make fun of myself. There's one part of my act where I kind of pick on someone up front, but I have a smile on my face while I'm doing it, and I immediately make fun of myself to disarm it.
And also most of the time, or I've never seen you, even when you talk to someone in the crowd, do anything that's truly mean-spirited or
No, I call
anything that's
someone.
really attacking a person.
I'll call like an older lady Nana, or I'll call
Right,
someone Portuguese Maria or Manny or something like that.
Right.
But it's 9 times out of 10 that's their name, so you don't.
And that's why it gets a big laugh, because they end up going, that is my name.
Yeah, that is my name. How'd you know? Yeah.
Oh, when I was younger, and I was getting heckled, and if it was a mean-spirited heckle, I'd really go after him.
Yeah.
I'd go full tilt. But I learned over the years that the best way to handle that is to embarrass them in this respect.
Yeah.
What do you need?
Yeah.
What is it you're looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Because and they don't know how to answer that.
Right.
Right.
Are you looking for more attention? Do you not have
Right.
enough love at home? What's
Right.
going on?
Yeah.
And almost 9 times out of 10, that'll shut them right up.
Right.
And I don't do it quite like that. I might do it a little more sarcastically and a little
Yeah.
more with a little more humor. But that's the direction I go into these
Right.
days, and it almost always.
But like you said, that's when someone's heckling. Like what happened at the Oscars, I think, was a little different. He was just making a throwaway joke about her being bald. Obviously, everyone's got an opinion about it, and it's like yeah, all right, I get it. If she had alopecia and he knew that, okay, then it was distasteful. But how do you know that he knew she had it? You know what I mean?
Right,
You know,
exactly, and
you can't assume anything.
and
I
all-
gotta tell you, I think I'm pretty close with that couple, and I didn't know.
You didn't know, right?
I didn't know.
Exactly.
last
Now,
time
that's
you were
why we
there,
had
they
you
didn't
on.
bring it up.
No, they didn't. But here's my thing with it. I just assumed he knew.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan at all
Mm.
of picking on one specific person for their medical condition.
I
Right.
agree.
I think, look, there's no topic that's off limits. You want to do an
Right.
alopecia joke? Great.
Right.
But don't involve one person who's suffering from that.
Right.
So that was my initial reaction. And Will Smith's actions were unjustifiable. I think this
There's
is
obviously something else going on.
Oh, yeah.
Because he laughed first, and then
He
she
did.
poked him, and that's when he snapped. And obviously, it's been in the news. There's shit going on in their marriage. And listen, this isn't the fucking View, or it's not, extra, but you see this stuff come up and you see what's going on. He snapped,
But-
and didn't make it right at all.
No.
Should have never laid a hand. Because you know what? I can tell you, any of us working if anyone did that at your job or my job, they would have been escorted out and not asked back.
Of course.
You know.
Now, as far as, and I've seen all that talk about his initial reaction, he laughed and then he got pissed. Look, if I laughed at something and then realized it hurt my wife's feelings,
Yeah.
then my attitude would change.
Absolutely.
Right.
And sometimes it takes you a minute for the joke to really register. Like you laugh at first and then you're like, wait a minute, because
Right.
So I get that part
But
too.
there's other ways he could have dealt with it.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Could have just yelled from the audience. I mean, he could have just heckled.
No,
you know,
I mean, you
but
you
you don't-
should have taken him aside later or at a different time and told him it's way out of line. I mean, that was just, way uncalled for. And
What's weird though is they've worked together before. Jada Pinkett Smith and I mean, I don't know if they were in the same room because I'm a little bummed now there won't be a Madagascar 5, but
there was do you remember the joke?
I just wrote that.
Yeah.
That's my new joke.
Write that one
It's
down.
pretty funny.
Write that
That wasn't bad.
It's gold, Jerry. It's gold.
Do you remember the joke that I don't think a lot of people mentioned it, that Chris Rock made at Jada's expense when he hosted the Oscars?
Yes. Yeah. He said something about her not being relevant or something like
Because
that.
she said
they
she
were
was boycotting the Oscars because at that time there was the claim of there was no black nominees,
Yeah.
and she was boycotting the Oscars. And he said Jada Pinkett Smith, boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Kim Kardashian's panties. I wasn't invited.
Right.
Now, to me, that was a much more clever joke than what he
Yeah.
did the other night.
Yeah, look, the joke he did the other night, even if she didn't have alopecia.
It wasn't a clever joke.
No, it was a throwaway.
It was
He
just a
probably
throwaway.
looked down, saw her bald head, and said, "Oh shit, a GI Jane joke."
Did you see Tiffany Haddish the other
No,
night?
no, I didn't even watch it.
She
I
had.
didn't either.
I didn't know.
Well,
any
no,
of
I
this
didn't.
until
I
after.
I have never watched the Oscars.
I could care
There's,
less.
I think it was Jonah Hill that once, no, or was it Seth Rogen? Somebody said, hey, how come more people aren't watching the Oscars like they used to? It's like, I don't know. Are you watching the tire store awards show? I mean,
Right.
we're just giving awards to our own industry. Why do
Exactly.
we expect other people to care?
Right.
But I just saw from the clips of everything that happened. She had a crew cut, head shaved right down
Yeah.
to nothing.
And she's always had short hair.
That is a
Right.
common style, especially among African American women.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of them with that really short
Yeah.
haircut.
Yeah.
So if I saw
Is that why you're doing it?
exactly,
Yeah.
if I saw Jada Pinkett Smith just sitting there with the hair like that, I would say, oh, she must have a role or something.
Yeah,
going on.
right.
I had no idea about the alopecia thing
No.
until this all happened. I
Right.
really didn't. I'm not Chris Rock, so I wouldn't be standing on stage at the Oscars making jokes, unfortunately.
I don't sell yourself short.
You know,
That's right.
Maybe next year, now that he won't be
Listen, they're
back.
running out of people, so maybe unknowns like us could be
Yeah,
invited.
you never know. These two guys will be safe, and then we'll be up there and they'll be going, wrong call there.
Next year it's Mike Tyson.
Yeah, exactly. They'll
Look at
just-
this ludicrous guy, I don't know what he did. Hey,
Yeah.
Jada, how you doing? Nice hair.
they'll just bite your ear off.
That's right.
Oh, I gotta stop because now Mike Tyson might show up at my door.
All of a
I
sudden,
don't like these jokes thing.
he'll smack you across the face.
The Acement, that's right.
Very
So-
nice, very nice. This is a nice house. I've seen a lot of Section 8 housing, and it's not this nice.
Thank
This
you,
is
I
really-
appreciate that.
This is great.
I appreciate that. Cheers.
Now, as far as regular comedy though, like Ace and I were talking about it recently. I mean, obviously 2020 didn't exist. 2021 last year seemed to be slow out of the gates. End of the year wasn't too bad, but still wasn't great. A lot of shows were half, 3/4 full. Finding this year seems to be stronger. Crowds are stronger. How are you finding it?
So, I felt very lucky. I worked pretty steady in 21.
Good.
But you're right, the crowds are slim. They were small because they had to be, and they were doing a lot of simulcast zooming,
Yeah.
which I didn't enjoy. This year is absolutely, it's like old years, except for this. A couple of years ago, I would know 3 months in advance where I was going to be every weekend.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at the next month. Like let me do it this way. In February, I looked at March. I go, I'm screwed. I don't know what I'm going to. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills.
Right.
And then it just
fills.
magically filled up at the
Right.
last minute.
Yeah.
That's how this seems to be going.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because people are worried that things are going to get canceled, so they're booking them last
So,
minute. I don't
yeah.
know. But that seems to be the way it's going this whole year so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because now that you say that, you're right. You know, my months are getting full, but some of them not till 2-3 weeks before.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's funny because I haven't sent any avails out to anyone, but I'm like looking at my
You
next
also
month
haven't done
going,
that in 18 years.
I know. I don't send
I'm bad
avails.
about it. I'm bad about it. I know.
Yes.
But you know what? Here's the
But see, you're still LinkedIn. Like I moved out of Boston so long ago that I'm an afterthought. If I don't email people, they're not thinking of me. You know what I mean? I'm out of sight. I've still got people up in Boston that go, "Hey, you still living in Springfield?" Dude, I lived in Springfield for 1 fucking year from 1997 to 1998. And that's what Boston bookers think. It's like, hey, did you know I lived in Wakefield, right near Boston, for like 4 years?
Certain people are very funny.
Oh,
There's one
yeah.
booking agent in particular. I lived at this one address for 12 years.
Yep.
Then I moved, and it was a temporary thing. And then I moved again like a year and a half later. And I gave him, I said, this is my new address for the check.
Yep.
And his response was, you moved more than anyone else I ever met.
3 times.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, twice. I know.
But
I know.
I don't know. See, I always feel like if I'm sending my avails, they're probably deleting it because if they didn't ask me if I'm open, then they're
Yeah.
probably not interested. But again,
But
I don't know,
again,
maybe people do send their avails.
Again, out of sight, out of mind. So there's certain people that I haven't gotten booked in a long time, but I keep myself as busy as I want to be too, but then what happened is this is the first year where it seems like we're getting those magic dates. You know, the magic date where you take a gig because you're like, all right, yeah, I'll take it. And it may not be the best paying gig. And then all of a sudden 6 other offers come in for that same night.
Yeah.
And some of them you might be able to like work around and double up, but because you took this one gig that's smack in the middle of the night, you can't double up with anything else. And I don't know about you, I've never been the type, unless someone turned around and was like really lowballed, and then I got like a corporate gig where they're like, hey, $1,500. I'm like, yeah, I can't take your 150 or 200 to do,
I don't like to cancel
I don't
on
like it.
anybody.
Yeah.
And if it's a low money gig and I get another offer and it's not much more, I'll just turn it down.
Same.
If it's big, I'll text the first person
Mhm.
and I'll go, look, I don't want to cancel on you. This is the offer I have.
Right.
Would I burn a bridge? Would it be a problem?
Can I find someone else for you? I'll find someone else for
Right.
you for that night. I'll do the legwork. That was one of the things.
And I'll always find somebody not as good as me, by the way.
Of course,
Because I want
you
them
want
to-
them. Yeah, you want them to be pissed that you weren't there.
Well, how would you
So,
find someone?
Bob
that?
Mello.
Well, I got to go to people who haven't done an open mic yet.
Right.
Hey, have you ever thought about doing comedy? I got a gig for you.
So Bob Mello, that was the only time, he would understand. I would call him, I'd say like 2 months in advance, Bob,
Right. That's the other
know
thing. I
I've
won't
got
do it
this
the week
gig-
before.
Oh, never. I know I've got this gig for you, Bob.
Not
I will
everybody's that way.
I will find someone for you.
'Cause I've had that happen to me.
Yeah.
I've had a fundraiser or something booked, and someone literally has called me on the Monday when it's going on Saturday and said, "Hey, I got this other gig offer."
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like one time I had someone call me like a week and a half before,
Yeah.
and they said, "Listen, I got offered this writing gig in LA, to fly
That's
out to
different.
this writing
That's a
gig."
different thing.
And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no doubt in my mind, you got to take that."
Right.
And they said, "But these two people are available. I've already contacted them. I didn't discuss money that's between you and them, but they're available." And I'm like, "Hey, you didn't even have to do that. Thank you
Right.
very much." Totally professional. And then I eventually had the person, back on another show and everything because I have no problem with that.
That's different.
But I've had other people that have canceled on me, like I said, on the Monday. And then I'll see on the Facebook page that it was just another like fundraiser or whatever like that.
I had someone cancel.
Really?
For like $50 more,
Yeah,
but it was closer
exactly.
to home.
Yeah, exactly.
I had someone actually cancel and say, "Oh, I screwed up. I double booked myself and I can't cancel out of this other gig." Meanwhile,
Yeah.
this other gig, I know for a fact they were not getting paid as much
Yeah.
as I was paying them. And they were going to be, it was a Funny for Fun show. So I needed them for their equipment and to run the show because I had another gig. So they were going to
getting
make
paid extra.
really good money that night. And they canceled out for another show where they were just part of a lineup of like 6 people. And I know for a fact they weren't going to make that same money.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that if they had called that booker and said, "Hey, I screwed up, I double booked myself, but here's how much I'm making by running this other show," that other booker would have totally understood it.
Right.
And you know what? I've never booked that person again. And there's very few people.
Yeah, I've been meaning to
that I'll
talk to
do
you
that.
about that.
Yeah, I know.
It's been several years.
I know. Actually,
And-
no,
and
I
he-
had.
I didn't know you were gonna remember that.
Well, there
Bring
was
that up here.
There was a pandemic.
And he told me about it, and you notice I haven't.
No, actually, I had Steve on the church show a couple of years
That's right.
ago. Before, right?
Was that
before
a
we
couple of
closed
years
down.
ago now?
No.
Oh, no, was it last
That was-
year?
that was-
Last year.
That was
last
just
year.
not
You
that
showed
long
up.
ago because I showed up.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
you and I went to the
Because
Spargraph.
Because I want you to do it this year.
You were on the show that Carolyn Plummer and I talk about all the time, the snowstorm show that I had.
Correct, yeah.
And like Carolyn's calling me going, "Are we still gonna have a show? Because I'm having a hell of a time getting there." And I'm like, "They said they're not canceling," and the place was packed.
Yeah.
And we had such a great show there.
Fun.
And that, luckily, that wasn't close to any major highways. You had to go all those back roads,
He's
Was
right.
in Connecticut?
Yes.
Of course.
all
yes.
these hills are.
Yes. Yeah. It wasn't the easiest location to get to.
But it was a great show.
And yet there was not an empty seat in the place.
And it was a ball.
Yeah, and we had a blast. All three of us had such a good time. But Carolyn, every time I see her, she talks about the snowstorm show.
The
that she
snowstorm
says.
show.
We had so much fun that night.
So when did you start doing comedy? Since we talked about it
Yeah.
a little bit on the last
How
episode.
many years
but-
now you got in?
So that really depends on who you talk to.
Okay.
Because some
We're
people
talking-
say,
I
here's
was
the,
gonna say, we're talking to.
Yeah.
well, some people say a couple years ago.
Personality.
Yeah, right. So the first time I ever did an open mic. So I knew I wanted to get in comedy. So I got a job at Stevie D's Comedy Tonight, which was on Route 114 in Middleton, Mass. It was right near the college I was going to.
Yeah.
I got a job as a doorman because I wanted to do it. So I was watching all these amazing comics. Don Gavin, Kevin Knox, Cyber, all these just Mike
Brilliant
Donovan.
comics.
I mean,
Yeah.
Brilliant.
watching these people
Killers.
just crush and crush and crush. And the general manager there, guy named Willie Drinkwater, who
Mhm.
became like a second father or brother to me. He was just fantastic to me. But he said, "All right, go down to Stitches. I put your name in, they'll let you on tonight." So I go down there. I put my name on. I wait. I had a buddy who was going to BU. He brought a few friends,
Mhm.
and it was 1987. And I went up and I did my 5 minutes. And according to him, I did okay, did pretty well.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that you have to grow. I thought either you walk on stage and you crush and then you become a comedian, or you don't and you go.
And you go away.
Go
Yeah.
away.
Right.
So I went back to Stevie D's crushed, just watching shows. And then, I got talking to people and they're like, I didn't get a single laugh my first time I was on stage.
Right.
It took me 3 years to go back on stage.
Really.
You did it once and not again for 3 years.
For 3 years. Yeah.
Wow.
And then in 1990, I did it again and understood what the expectation
Right.
should be.
Yeah.
So, and then, and I kept doing open mics and started hanging out with the groups like we all do in open mics.
Yeah.
We have our class
Yep.
and was having an absolute ball and then started getting paid.
So who was in your class? Who was your class of?
So my class, so I really started hanging with people who started a little like
Little before you?
Robbie Prince,
Yep.
Todd Parker,
Yep.
Jim LaLetta, and then starting at probably the same time as me was John David, Paul Gilligan, Chris McGuire.
Yep.
Man, some funny people in that class.
Yeah, we had a great time. And
Some funny people.
and this was a problem there too. This was while I was watching at Stevie D's, all the headliners, they would come in and they would do their act, and their act never changed.
Right.
And that was kind of, I don't know if it was because of the time. There was a lot of cocaine going around and they just weren't writing or what.
Yeah.
We've heard.
We've heard from a few of them.
We've heard.
So that actually, what happened was I got 20 pretty decent minutes. And then I got really, really lazy. And I didn't write, and I just stuck with my 20 minutes and stretched it into a half, which was a stretch.
Yep.
And that really, when I look back, and that's part of middle age, is you look back and you go, I should have done this, should have done this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I shouldn't have been. I was about doing my 20 minutes, hanging with the crowd and partying.
Yeah.
And that was, boy, I wish I could do that all over.
Yeah.
Because that stunted me for a while.
Yeah.
And then, and then I started doing road gigs. I was doing like out in the Midwest for 6 weeks.
Yep.
Or down south for 4 or 5 weeks. And that was just, as a single guy, that was just amazing.
Fun.
Now, were you booking yourself during this, or did you have like an agent manager,
A road booker.
someone booking you on the stuff?
The first way I got a road gig was this guy from the Midwest who was working at the Comedy Connection in Rhode Island.
Okay.
And I was opening for him, and he was staying in with his buddy in Cambridge, so we drive every night. And he's like, I got this road thing going on. You want to do this? I said, yeah, absolutely. So what he did was he introduced me to his agent was Tom Sobel out in Louisville, Kentucky.
I remember that name. Someone told me to call him, but again, I was in college and then I got a job and I never got to do the road stuff, but I remember that.
So this
name.
is mostly about you bragging?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Every week, Steve.
Give it a few minutes, he'll start.
One more of these.
Did I ever tell you about the time Don Rickles said I was funny?
So I met him, and I met this other guy that he was also this tour was with this other guy who was out of Iowa. So I got in with them, and then through referrals, I got in with some other people.
Other bookers, yeah. Who was the guy that was working the connection?
At the time, that was Dana. Oh, the
No,
the comic
guy
was Bob Batch.
Oh, okay.
Bob Batch lives out of Louisville, Kentucky.
All right.
Good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy. Yeah. Yeah. He lived in Boston for a number of years. Then he moved back to Louisville and would come back occasionally to Boston
To work.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right.
Didn't know.
Yeah, I never worked with
Didn't
him.
know.
He was very, very, he was a great writer.
Yeah.
I mean, and a great performer, but he was a great writer.
Yeah,
Very
I think a
funny
lot
stuff.
of people, and we've talked about this, a lot of people don't realize just how many good comics there are out there throughout the country that you've just never heard of.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
I mean, 3 of them sitting in this room right now
That you've never heard of.
that you've never heard
No,
of.
and we've said it before to listeners or watchers. If you're in a different part of this country and you have someone in your local scene that you guys love, please recommend them, because there are great comics in different scenes throughout this country that never quite make it to that national stage. And, those are the guys that we meet on the road that are just these brilliant comics.
I haven't done those roads
You haven't done them in a while.
in a while, but like when I was out in Louisville, they had a great community there.
Right.
Indianapolis has a good community.
But
And so
we-
I don't know if they still do.
We know,
But these,
but we know comics that work the road, and they'll tell you different places that they love to go to,
Right.
because the comedy scenes are so good.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like Louisville is probably one of my favorite cities in the
Was
whole
it?
country.
Yeah.
And that's only because of the friends I made there. There was always
Awesome.
always great people to hang out with there.
That's awesome. So how many years did you do the road?
So I did the road for several years. Then I got serious about my girlfriend, and then who then became my wife. And so I kind of settled down and stayed in New England for the most part. I do Atlantic City once a year.
Right.
get some corporate stuff. But for the most part, I was staying in New England. And then I actually got to the point where I had the wife, kid, and I was like, you know what? And Friday would come, and I'd be like, and so I had the wife and the kid, and I decided to get a day job, be a real person. And Friday would come, and I was like, I don't feel like doing a show. And I was like, who the hell am I?
Yes.
Just think,
Yes.
I'm wasting the stage.
Right.
If I'm not dying to get on that stage, I don't belong there.
Yeah.
So I got out for like 10 years, almost 10 years. I was out of stand-up. Yeah, it feels like longer,
Wow.
but it was like 7 to 10 years, something like that. And then my son got older, and it just I started going back. And I got to tell you now, every time I get on that stage, if there's 400 people, if there's 10 people, I'm just
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
See,
Grateful to be there.
grateful to be there.
I'm grateful to be there once I get there, but there have definitely been times when
You're
you're at
working a
like
day job.
family picnics, where you're like, family cookouts or cookouts, and you're like, shit, I gotta pack up, I gotta go do this show. Once I'm there, I'm fine.
See, this might be a psychological
Buying
thing for me.
myself. Yeah,
That whole cookout, I'm like, I can't wait to get to my show.
really.
Yeah. I'm
Like
with
I
that.
enjoy. Don't get me wrong. I love my family time. I love my
Yeah.
friend time. But there's just nothing like being on that stage.
I'm the same way. I don't like having those two things on the same day because I have that nervous anticipation about getting to the show.
See, that's not
Not
for me.
nervous. I want to be there. So I have trouble enjoying my time because I keep looking at my watch like, is it time to leave yet? I want to make sure I get there. I want to, because I love getting to go do that.
Right.
Because I also started later. I didn't, I already had my 3 kids when I started.
Right.
I finally said, I got to do it now or it's never type of thing.
And
And
it probably should have been never.
well, Ace tells me that every week. But it's one of those things that I'm like, I'm afraid if I stop now, that's it. It's over. I wouldn't take that much time off because I'm afraid that would be the end of it.
Right.
It's funny you should say that because when I first got back in,
Yeah.
I had to do a lot of proving.
I was going to ask you about that. Was it completely starting over at that point?
There were two agents that took me back immediately and put me in a headlining spot. Everybody else, I had to absolutely start from the bottom and improve myself.
Yeah.
Which is, you know what? That's legitimate. And especially because at the end, when I was telling you, I didn't feel like, I was like, I don't feel like going there. I was mailing it in.
Yeah.
I really wasn't doing the job. I mean, the audience thought I was doing the job, but you guys know the difference between doing the job
And
and
really
crushing
right.
and really connecting.
That's true.
There is just doing the mechanics
Mhm.
and, making them laugh and
Saying
you
the
did
words
job
and
and saying
doing
the
it.
words and really being out there.
But in your mind, you're like, did I leave the oven on?
Yeah, you're not present. You're not. You're not there. Type of thing. So when you that just amazes me. You took 10 years off.
Years.
When you first came back, did you start like fresh with your material? Did you use some of your old material? I mean, did it feel like you literally were standing on stage the first time? Or was it really like riding a bicycle where it kind of came back to you pretty quick?
I can't really tell you for sure because I don't remember vividly.
Okay.
I will tell you, I used a lot of the same material because I had it in my pocket.
Good.
Right. Yeah.
But
I
was
would
always-
assume you would.
Right. But there's a lot of stuff that I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
I don't vividly remember that, but I can tell you this. So it's probably going to be very similar. When we shut down in March because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then the first show I got to do again was the next May. So that's 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
You guys do the math for me? I'm not sure. I think it was 3 months. I was lost.
Yeah.
I didn't know
We
where
talk
I was
about that all the
starting,
time.
where I was going, where I was ending.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, the rust was unbelievable.
How fast it comes.
Yeah.
How fast it really
Yeah.
comes. We did our first show together, actually. We
Yeah.
got booked on the same show, and it was in July. So it was 4 months afterwards, if I did the math correctly. And the same type of thing was happening is like, Ace is like, oh my God, what do I end with? And I'm
And
like,
we literally for like 30 seconds. stared
and
at
I'm
each other.
I'm scrambling in
Figure
my
it out.
head trying to remember what he ends with. And all of a sudden, because I'm thinking about his act, I get up to go do my spot before him, and I'm like, what do I start with?
Yeah.
Because I haven't done this in 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that I'm thinking 4 months is not that long. It is forever
It is.
when it comes to doing something.
Absolutely. And the first show I did was the Tupelo up in, you guys know
Yeah,
the Tupelo?
Tupelo Music Hall, yeah.
And it was the parking lot show. And
Oh, yeah.
I remember the pictures of that.
the closest car was like 100 feet away.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here's the other thing, is the laughter was delayed by what, a millisecond?
Yeah.
And that threw me off.
Yeah.
Of course.
Or they weren't laughing and you had to check every once in a while and then they beat their horns. Did that happen to
Well,
you?
so at the
I was
Tupelo,
supposed
what
to
they
say you
did,
did a car show too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so at the Tupelo, they weren't in their cars. What they did was they parked every other space.
Yeah.
So the car was the 6-foot barrier and they had lawn chairs.
And they
in the
lawn
other
chairs.
space.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were there. I could see their faces, although my eyes.
But they're still ways away from you.
Yeah,
You're so far away, yeah.
it was, so that threw me off too.
I did one for Radigan and it was like the Mansfield.
Oh, yeah.
Arts.
Were you standing in that little HGTV tiny house?
Yeah, exactly. With a swamp behind you getting eaten by mosquitoes the entire show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the glamour and glitz.
And
of
then,
showbiz.
yeah.
Oh
And,
my
and
God.
they were literally like, they're in their cars and you could hear laughs, but because they're in their cars, some people weren't, like, some people were in lawn chairs,
And some
other people were in the cars.
Yep.
And every once in a while, I'm like, are you guys still having fun? And then all of a sudden, the whole parking lot, they're beeping at you. I'm like, all right, I just wanted to do a check.
I didn't get the opportunity to do any car shows.
It was fun.
It
was fun.
I would have done one. I absolutely would have done it. I did get the lovely opportunity to do a few Zoom shows, and those were just soul crushing
Can I tell you
and
something?
soul sucking.
I didn't want to do them, but I ended up doing a few corporates.
Mm.
And the first one, it took me a little while to figure it out, but I actually had a ball on those Zoom parties.
Really?
Yes.
I know, and we talked to other people that did as well.
And the trick for me was to just talk about how tech unsavvy I am and just start, talking to people in the windows
Yeah.
and then start going into the act. And the secret too is you got to encourage them to have their microphones on.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can hear the laughter, because that makes a huge difference. The only thing is, at one of the events, one of the comics, if it was me, I'd say it was me because it's funny. But one of the other comics, while they were doing their set, they heard the guy ordering a pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard someone yelling at their kid in
Yes.
the next room.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was doing a Zoom show, and I swear to God, and the accent wasn't this bad, but all of a sudden I hear, Bobby, grab me a beer too while you're in there.
Yeah.
All right? And it's like, we can hear
They
you.
forgot they were off.
The one that I did that was really good is when they did the Boston Comedy Festival, and they did it all virtual.
Yeah.
And they had me do one of the preliminary nights, and they had all the contestants go on, and then I went on last while they were tabulating the scores and did the final spot. And they had 40 people watch it. And they had them all have their mics on.
Yeah.
And you could hear them laughing, and it felt almost like a normal show.
Right.
And there were a couple of contestants. I tell you, this one guy, he set up, his backdrop was a brick wall. He had a mic in a mic stand in front of him. He put
I remember
on
that
a
guy.
suit jacket and everything. I'm like, this guy should get extra bonus points just because he made it look like he was on a stand-up stage at a show. He was all in, where everybody else was basically sitting at their kitchen table or whatever.
Right.
He put everything into this.
Yeah.
And did okay. He did okay considering the circumstances. But that one wasn't bad because people were listening, they were laughing and everything. But a couple of the other ones I did one where they told everyone to mute their microphones. That was god awful.
That had to be hell.
That was awful because you're just talking at
Right.
that point to dead air.
Right.
That was brutal.
It's like performing at the Charlie Horse.
Oh.
So,
That place comes up all
oh
the
my
time.
God, good Lord.
Who said it recently?
That was just
we
recent.
said,
Someone brought up
we
the
said,
Charlie
what
Horse.
was your high point? And they said, well, obviously Chance Langton's show at the Charlie Horse.
It was just a couple of weeks ago.
Here's an
Yeah.
interesting dynamic, by the way, that never in a million years would I've ever thought would come into comedy, but there are people.
Eddie Brill.
Eddie Brill brought it up.
Brill brought it up.
Yes, it
Sorry.
was Eddie
I was just
Brill.
looking at the board. I'm like,
Yes.
yep, it was Eddie.
You've heard Tony V's story about the Charlie horse, right?
No.
Have you had Tony V on?
Oh, yeah.
We did, but it was probably season 2, probably the same season you were in.
All right, so
It was November 2018 we had Tony on.
have him back.
Yeah.
I won't tell his story. That's not my place. But
All right.
have him back for the Charlie horse.
back.
But here's an interesting dynamic that nobody's really talking about.
It's good you brought it up because Tony does not have any stories to tell.
Yeah, he's
Tony's the best.
Yeah, he's so
I
quiet.
love Tony. He's one of my best friends.
Yeah, I
So-
love Tony too.
There are comics that actually developed through these Zoom shows. They're like Zoom comics. They're better at Zoom than they are on
Yeah,
They
stage.
are on
Yeah.
stage.
There's a lot of them. Yeah,
Wow.
When
Good. That means they're gonna get Zoom work and I'm gonna get stage
exactly.
work.
That's
Well,
what I look
take
at.
them out
Yeah.
of the equation.
Mike Kaplan, when we had him on, he was explaining that,
Yeah.
you know, he figured it out that Zoom shows the key to his success was not telling his jokes. It was like he was telling people about
the
his
jokes, yeah, explaining the jokes.
It was more explaining and talking about the jokes than he was really telling them. And once he started kind of approaching it that way, he seemed to get better responses and they went better. He goes, and then I find myself doing 2 or 3 of these a day. He goes, my agent's calling me, hey, this corporation wants you, this person. He goes, and I'm filling my book and
Yeah.
staying busy, which was kind of the point.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, back then, you know,
Yeah.
was it optimal? No, but hey, you got to make a paycheck somehow.
So besides the Zoom shows over the past few years, what are some high points in your career?
Oh, geez.
Like some people that you've opened for that you were like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm opening for this. Or
I don't get to
to
open for people anymore.
No, well, not
Or
anymore. I know.
Recording a podcast in Norwood, Mass.
Yeah.
Are we in Norwood?
Being in the basement of the AC.
Basement.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't say that in the last 2 years I've had any high points.
How about in your career in
in your
general?
whole career. In
Your
your whole
career in general.
I was kind of making a joke about the Zoom shows.
Okay.
but it fell flat. Thanks.
Yeah, well, we can cut that in post.
I gotta rewrite that one.
We're not cutting that close.
No, he doesn't edit shit, trust me. You're gonna hear all this on the podcast.
No, but
For him a little more, he'll cut it.
over the course of your career, you know, what were some of those high moments where, not just the high moments when you got high, actual moments, because
Those I can't remember, really.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
No, those moments where you got to open up for maybe a hero, someone you looked up to, or you got to perform in a place that was like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to work here. You know, those big moments.
And now you sound like Kenny Rogerson when you say, I can't remember anything. Dates are fuzzy.
Yeah, that's Kenny's line.
Kenny, when did you start comedy? Dates
Dates are kind of fuzzy.
Dates are fuzzy.
They are though.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a matter of getting old.
Yeah.
But like, cause I'll hear about something that happened in the 90s, like, oh yeah, like 10 years ago. I'm like, no, that was 95. I was like, yeah,
Oh,
10
yeah.
years ago.
Yeah. Oh, listen, we've had someone on the show recently that talked about a show that we did. Oh, Eric Hoffer
Yes.
talked about this show that, and someone else had done it a couple of years ago. They said this show that we did, it was a Tonight Show audition, but it was at Apex Department Store in Pawtucket.
And Johnny Carson was the host. at the
No,
time.
yeah, and Johnny Carson
He
was the
was.
host of
The
not
Tonight Show.
yeah, of the Tonight Show, not of the. Not
No, but I'm just trying to give you the time.
Oh,
That's
geez,
how long
okay.
ago.
Carson
and-
was the host of the Tonight Show, and they were doing an audition to be on with Carson.
In the appliance aisle, in between washing machines and dishwashers. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago, John Parada posted a picture from the newspaper article about it. And it said, and it had this young kid, and I'm like, that kid looks so familiar. Why do I know him? Budding comics, Seth MacFarlane entertaining, for the Tonight Show challenge at Apex. And I was like, holy shit, I had erased that show from my memory because it was horrible. I mean, again, we're in the middle of a department store. They're like, price check on aisle 12, and we're trying to do fucking comedy. And I had totally forgotten that I had worked with Seth MacFarlane when he was at RISD.
It just shows you how hard stand-up is. He had to quit stand-up
And look
and go into
at
cartoons.
and look at him now.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, I
Shows
would
you
quit.
how hard stand-up
I would
is.
quit stand up tomorrow to go into cartoons and do what he does. Are you kidding? But yeah, but go ahead. What was your
So-
favorite?
You know what? All right. So if we're going to go highlight, like that kind of highlight,
Yeah.
I was, I was doing a spot for the Boston Comedy Festival. I think I was hosting that show.
Mhm.
And then after, this guy comes up to me, hands me a card. He goes, "Look, I'm with CBS. We'd like to talk to you. Give us a call on Monday." So I look at the card, and I'm like, "Wow, this is cool." So on Monday I called, and he's like, "Oh yes, Mr. Bjork, we've been waiting for your call. Hold on one second. I'm going to put you through to this person. I've actually forgotten her name,
Mhm.
but she was the senior casting agent."
Mhm.
So she goes, "Listen, we heard we had a scout at the show. They thought you were terrific. We'd love to have you come in and talk to you."
Mhm.
I go, "Okay, when you want me to come in?" So she gives me a date. I go down to New York City, go into the CBS building, go up to the floor, and they sent me some sides, the script to memorize. So I memorized a terrible script, by the way. Awful.
Yeah.
So I memorize it. I go in the office, and it's her and then her assistant casting director. And we're having this great conversation because at this point, this is like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. I was like, I'm happy with my life.
Right.
If I get
It
a golden
happens, it
ticket,
happens,
if I get a golden ticket, so I'm relaxed, I'm having a great time. And we have a great meeting. And she goes, "All right, why don't you read these lines?" I read them. And she goes, "All right, thank you. We'll be in touch." And I walk and I go out the elevator. And this page comes running up to me, goes, "Mr. Bjork, could you come back in the office?" I go, "Yeah, of course." So I go down and sit down. She goes, "Listen, we were just talking and we really, really want to work with you. In fact, we might want to develop something around you. Do you think we can get you on film doing some of these lines?" Again, yeah, of course. So I go in this little room, they get the camera, we do the lines, and like, that was terrific. That was really great. We were really looking forward to working with you. And I go in the elevator, and then the ride down, and
Yeah.
Of course.
this is my
Of course.
this is
You
my
didn't
ticket.
care, but now you do because this is a
It's happening.
possibility.
Yeah, no, it's not a possibility. This happened.
Yeah, that's a done deal.
So, and I get in the shuttle flight home, and I'm beside myself.
Yeah.
This is fantastic, and never heard from him again.
Nothing.
We can't wait to work with you. No, because she was fired the day after.
Probably, probably. They said, "You met with who?"
Yeah. That's that.
That's like Seinfeld when
fucking
Susan got
crazy.
fired.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And their sitcom, they
Exactly.
Yeah.
And,
Oh my
I waited a
God.
couple weeks. I made a call, didn't get through.
Oh my God. That's the best and worst moment at the same time.
So, but here's the way I look at it. It's like a baseball player. Even if I never got to walk on the field, if I got to suit up,
Yeah.
I feel like I suited
Right.
up.
You suited up and sat on the bench.
absolutely
I was
did.
at least part of the industry for a
Right.
moment.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Blink and you miss it moment, but
Yeah.
but it was a moment.
Right.
But you got that moment.
And then they were like, everybody loves Steve, just doesn't have a ring to it. Let's call that guy Ray.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. Because
That's
you
what
know what? I
happened.
passed him in the elevator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
He said,
hey.
"Good luck, kid."
How's it going there? Oh, what's your name? How do you spell that? He'll never get the gig. Steve Bjork.
They'll never be able to
How the
say it.
hell are they gonna sell that?
Yeah. Hey.
Romano, you're gonna get Romano, yeah.
Here's the other thing that I kind of glossed over. While I was in LA,
Yeah.
I was at the Improv, and I was sitting at the bar, and I was talking to this guy, and it turns out he was a comic, and I go, "Oh, you going up tonight?" He said, "Oh, they don't let me up anymore." I go, "Oh, okay." So I was talking to my buddy Jackie Flynn.
Yeah,
That's who I-
Jackie. We've had Jackie.
That's who I would. He and I drove cross country to LA.
He brought that up.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
right.
Yes.
That was weeks. It took us 3 weeks. We stopped everywhere. We did a week in Vegas.
Yeah.
Then we went. But anyway, it was the most amazing adventure. Anyway,
I love it.
so
3 weeks, 1 full week in Vegas.
so 2 weeks. I mean, 2
I
weeks
don't
to get
find
from here to
any,
Vegas.
yeah, I don't find anything unusual about
No.
it.
We
not at
stopped.
all.
I mean, I don't know how much you took. We stopped in Memphis and
He
ended up
didn't
hanging
really-
out with Oksana Bayul and
No.
Nancy Kerrigan.
He didn't really tell us much
Good
about
for
it. He
you.
just said he went cross country with you.
This is Jackie in a nutshell, right? We stop at the Grand Canyon, all
Yeah.
right, because we got to see the Grand Canyon. We're going by it,
Right.
right? So we get there. We're at the edge, and everyone's going, "This is amazing. This is the most amazing thing in nature." And we look at it for about a minute, and Jackie goes, "I'm good. You good?" And we went to his trunk and just started popping some beers.
Yeah. It was
Oh,
like Clark
That's
Griswold.
exactly what I was thinking. Okay, good.
But it wasn't
That's all I
because
can
of a
think of.
scenario. It was just because he was bored looking
Right.
at the big hole.
He just needed a glance and he was good.
Yeah. I've got the experience.
Yeah, okay.
I get
saw
it.
Yeah.
But so I leave the improv and I go, Jackie, did you sit down and sit with you? He's like, yeah. And he said his name. I go, what's his deal? Is he a comic? He goes, oh man, he had so much heat on him in the 80s. And he's just kind of washed up now.
Yeah.
And like that really hit me. That's not, I didn't want to be that guy
Yeah.
who just never made it. Like tried. Even when his welcome was gone, never made it. Did we just get kicked out again?
No, I'm laughing.
Right.
No, I'm gonna show you
We're still
something.
running.
We're still running. I'm just gonna show you something. Keep talking.
So I didn't want to be that guy. So that was part of the reason
Okay.
that I didn't, that's why
And I
that
get that.
mindset of
I
I'm
get
not
that.
chasing it
I
anymore.
get that.
I made my decision. I'm coming back home. So, so she says, her next call is, look, I keep hearing your name. I've seen your headshot. I really want you. What if we move the audition to New York City? I was like, no, I'm all set. So that's the end of that story. But the what happened later is they made the prequel.
Yeah.
The guy who starred as Fred Flintstone went on to be in a sitcom married to Jamie Gertz, and then became King Baratheon in the Game of Thrones. So
Yeah.
hypothetically speaking,
You could have been
I could have been TV married to Jamie Gertz and King Baratheon in Game of Thrones.
King Robert Baratheon.
Hypothetically.
Wow. We would have been much more impressed of you sitting across from us if you were.
I love you guys. Wouldn't be
You
here.
wouldn't even be here. I know. Ace who?
We wouldn't even have him remotely on right now. Never mind in
Who the
person.
fuck is the Ace man?
Yeah.
No, the
He
reason
wouldn't-
why.
He wouldn't even be on the phone. Who are you getting some assistant down the line would be refusing us?
The reason why I laughed was because I want you to read this out loud to the audience. Okay, it's going to be up on the screen in a minute. Can you see that?
I'm 53 years old. Do you really think I can read that?
Okay, so this is the one review on the independent film I was in.
Okay.
So
Go ahead and read it.
I should have said no, like you, because this is what was said. This was the title of the review. Too bad. That's the title.
It almost sounds like they're trying to be kind.
They are.
Oh, they
They
are.
are.
They're trying, but it didn't work. Too bad this movie never took off.
Oh.
It's an independent film that was shown locally at a film festival and met with high approval scores, but it never got picked up. Okay.
Yeah.
There were plenty of laughs, probably could have used a more polishing, but still enjoyable. This is where it gets bad. Local comedian Ace Aceto in the lead role had a big following in the Rhode Island area. The producers picked him up when he was hot and recognizable.
When?
And this is back in 97?
They wrote this. This is the sad thing. They wrote this in 2006. The producers picked him when he was hot and recognizable. We were hoping his career would take off after this film. Several other local people were used in the movie too. Too bad it didn't make it.
Signed, Mrs. Aceto.
Yes, signed Ace's mom. No, I just
Picked him up when he
So
was hot and
So
recognizable.
the fact that you said, yeah, I didn't want to be that guy, it just
Ace
did a
is that
nerve-
guy. In his home state.
Yes. In my own home state.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but you know what? That was when you moved to Wakefield, Mass.
Yeah, exactly. No, by 2006, I was moving in this house, so
Now he walks into a bar in the area and they go, Boxman!
I did. Every time I walked in the cigar bar last week, one of the guys that knows the guy that produced the
Oh,
movie
shit.
still to this day calls me Boxman.
I remember when you used to use that as a credit coming on stage.
Yeah, I used to.
Yeah.
And then it didn't get picked up. Now, if the audiobook makes it, because he wrote a book about it, and
Why
if
not?
the
And you're
book
doing
goes
it.
somewhere, and I'm doing the narration. So if the book goes anywhere, then I will start using that as credit. Star of the movie Box Man and narrator of the audiobook about Box Man. I'm not holding
Maybe
my
there'll be a
breath.
resurgence.
I'm not holding my breath.
We're such
It's-
whores.
We actually-
We'll use anything.
It's a cult classic.
Listen, we actually had, the producer, writer, director on the podcast a couple of months ago.
He was
And
great.
He was
He
a
was
great
great.
guest, and I love him. He's like family now, in fact, he just had an addition put on his house. I go, wow, that's awesome. I go, will you adopt me? Because he built like a 4-car garage, and he's got like the brand new vet. He never had kids, so he can afford. You know how it is. And I said, will you adopt me? He goes, dude, you've been family for 25 years. I go, great. Can I borrow the vet this weekend, Dad? He goes, oh, you hit me right where the mom and dad feels are. So.
Yeah, that was a fun conversation with him, wanting to make a movie, kind of knowing how, but not really knowing
He
how.
literally learned how to make movies by watching the director's commentary on Laserdisc.
Yes.
That's how he learned.
And you know what? There's so many success stories like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys who did Sunny in Philadelphia, that's how they did it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Joel and Ethan
Cohen. Yeah, the Cohen.
That's how they did it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's
What's
the
his
thing.
name?
He
Quentin
read,
Tarantino worked in a video cassette store.
well, and that's what he said. He was inspired by reading Robert Rodriguez's book about making El Mariachi on $6,500.
Right.
And then he saw Ed Burns do Ed Burns? Yeah. Do Brothers McMullen.
Mhm.
And that was all, it was the same, around the same time. And that's what inspired
Now,
him to do it.
have you ever done any small independent films?
No, I would love to. I've done a bunch of commercials.
Yeah.
I don't seem to get the calls for that, and I actually don't know how to get into that clique, that circle, which I do want to find out how to get into.
I did one, and it was because my day job at the time, my boss was an executive producer, meaning he was spending the money.
Right,
Yeah, he
exactly.
paid the
That's what
money,
he
yeah.
He was paying the money to do it, and he goes, "Hey, we're filming this scene, and we need people to be, in the
Extras.
scene. Do you want to come out for the weekend?" He goes, "Well, we're going to be at this strip club," and I was like, "You had me at strip."
Yeah, right.
He goes, "But we're going to be there before they open. They open at 4 p.m, so we have to be there from 4 a.m. till 3 p.m, and then we clear out." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine. I'll go." And we went Saturday and Sunday and shot our scenes. And it wasn't until I saw like more of the full length of the movie that I realized DJ Hazard was in the movie
Oh, no,
as
sure.
well.
Yeah.
And him and I worked together later on. And I brought up, I said, we happen to be in the same movie together. And I started talking to him about it. He goes, "Oh, really?" I go, "Yeah, my scene happens in the future. And there are two guys sitting together telling the story about what happened 3 years previously. And he's in the 3 years previously scene." So, yeah.
I still find it funny that you're worried about getting in the clique of independent films, but you turn down the Flintstones.
Well, I'm in a different place in my life.
Well, okay, yeah. Now you take the
Did
Flintstones.
did you see?
Yabba dabba doo!
Did you see that Flintstones movie? He was guest for?
Yeah,
It was borderline an independent film.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was pretty rough. It was pretty rough.
I
But
know.
but
It
it made
turned
a
out
nice
all
career
right.
out of it.
Yeah, it turned out all right.
Was it Stephen Baldwin? that
Yes, that
Barney Rubble?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, he was already a known commodity at the time.
An
So,
established actor.
yeah. He was one of the. He had been in a couple of movies before that, bigger name movies. But anyway,
Yeah.
I was just curious if you had ever done an independent film, because he did the world famous Box Van, and I was in Street Players, so I was wondering if you.
Now I keep getting commercial. I don't even know if I can say it. I just filmed one the other day, which was
Oh,
a lot
really?
of fun. And
Now,
I'm hoping
who do you work with?
Um,
Boston Casting mostly, or do you work with others?
I worked with Boston Casting, but this was through Paradise Casting.
Oh,
Melissa Paradise, you know her?
I've never met her. I've heard of them.
She is, in my opinion, she's the best in the business.
Really?
Melissa is fantastic. Like if you don't book a gig,
Yeah.
she'll actually email you and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't get it."
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
nobody does that.
Honestly,
Instead of just not knowing.
Right.
Well, I had auditioned for Bleed for this,
Yeah.
the Vinny Paz movie, and I knew I wasn't right for the role I was going, but it was the only role that I was going for that they had called me, and it was for the brother-in-law of Vinny Paz. It was like his sister's boyfriend, and the description was big meathead type of Italian guy. But here I am, all 5'6" of me, with a gut,
Your brother
going
could've
for
played
it. My brother could have gone.
Your brother
Yeah.
could've played it.
But I will say this, I auditioned, Angela goes, Ace, this isn't the role for you. I love you, but this isn't, I need a meathead. You're not a meathead. She pulls me and brings me into the other room with all the other casting directors that work for her. And she's like, we got to find a role for him. He is the voice of Rhode Island. We got to find a role for him. And nothing ever happened, but but I love
used to
Angela
get,
too.
oh yeah, I love Angela too.
You know.
And I used to get so many auditions with Boston Casting. For
Yeah.
some reason, I haven't gotten much.
I get a lot of emails, but
but
honestly,
that's all extra work.
yeah, exactly. I don't get anything. And with a day job,
That's-
you got to make it worth my while to
Exactly.
take a couple of days off to film something. I'm not going to do 8-hour days for, and this is nothing against the casting agents. This is just the stuff that gets offered.
Right.
I'm not going to spend 8.5, 10, 12 hours for
like
$50.
$100. Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
As a background extra.
I did that one time for fun.
Yeah.
It was anything but that.
I did it for Boston, what was it? Celtic Pride.
See, I did it for Here Comes the Boom.
Did you?
It was 9 or 10 hours,
Yep.
2 nights in a row.
$50,
and
right?
I thought it was like 100. But it doesn't, I mean, either way.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
not worth that
It
much.
still wasn't worth it.
No, and I was
and
gonna
the
bring that up
worst-
too, because I did it for Zookeeper with Kevin James. And I was working at the dealership they shot it at, so they used a bunch of us as extras. It's not as glamorous as people
No.
think it is.
Glamorous. I sat in this
It's-
little cavern, right?
Right,
yeah.
With all these extras who, like, they're professional extras.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting them down. That's, they're doing it and they're
Yeah.
enjoying it. But all these stories, I worked with Tom Cruise. I worked with Sandra Bullock.
Oh, yeah.
Does she know that?
No.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And then
You
yeah.
just happen to be in the same
You were-
area
listen,
as them.
I never say I worked with Damon Wayans
Of
and
course
Daniel
not.
Stern on Celtic Pride because I was one of 400 people sitting at the Boston
Exactly.
Garden in the seats.
exactly.
And here's the worst. I was non-SAG because I don't have my SAG card. Jim McHugh was SAG. So here we are, we're walking up for lunch. They tell us to go up for lunch and there's a rope down the center of the staircase to SAG and non-SAG. And I walk up my end and we're eating like shitty hour-old pizzas and they've got the actual craft services,
Yep.
fucking
I-
buffet sitting.
I did have
sitting there.
a man making me an omelet.
Oh, look at
on
you,
the set
fancy
of
pants.
Zookeeper.
All right.
For Here Comes a Boom, they're overnights. We're sitting in this warehouse waiting to go into the fight scene. And we waited for 4 and 5 hours at a time. And there's like 200 people. And every, 45 minutes to an hour, somebody would come out and toss like a box of candy bars on the table. And then they would run because all the extras
It was like feeding the
It
alligators
was
at the zoo.
unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. And they're walking away with these big smiles because they got a Twix.
It's so demeaning.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Right?
Yeah, if we wanted to be extras,
If it's a-
we had to stay after we worked all day
Yeah.
to be in the movie.
It's one thing.
So
if
we
you're
were
a
there till
featured
midnight,
extra.
1 o'clock in the morning, doing our scenes, and then
Right.
we'd have to be back at work at 7 a.m., work all day, and then wait around all night to be in it. But it was cool that we had this chance. So,
It was
people thought
cool to see the
as-
process.
and you get to see the process.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad I did it once.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
But I wouldn't do it again.
In the scene, like Justin McKinney played the referee of this fight.
Yeah, yeah.
Richie Miniverni was like the announcer.
Yep.
And so I was hanging around with Justin while we were on scene, but then he's a featured extra and he actually had 2 lines.
Right.
So then I got to go with the cattle.
Yeah.
He comes to the trailer.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, it's crazy.
Oh,
Crazy.
man. So what's coming up for Steve Bjork? What you got going on down the road as we're
What's today? Wednesday. So Friday, I'm actually not far from here. I'm in Plymouth.
Yep.
Uh,
Rhode Island?
1620 Club, it's called.
Oh, wow.
And
Oh, no, 162. Is it for Tom Stewart?
is it 162?
I think it's the 162
Okay.
club. I just saw it
162
posted.
Winery.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I just saw that posted.
And then I'm up in Saturday, I'm up in Newmarket, New Hampshire,
Nice.
Rockingham Ballroom.
and where can people get your dates? What's the website or
My Facebook page.
Facebook page? of that
So
place?
yeah, I haven't updated my website.
I know, I haven't
The
either.
calendar. It's like the easiest thing in the world to do. My web guy made it easy,
Yep.
and I still don't do it.
Still.
But I post everything in, and I have 2 pages on Facebook. I did a comedian page. First, I did my personal page, obviously.
Yeah.
And then a few years ago, I did a comedian page, and I never kept up on that. So go to my
Well, because
personal
you have
page.
way more friends on your personal page than, yeah.
Right.
I have 5,000 friends on my personal page, but I have like 300 followers on my comedian
Exactly.
page. I barely use it.
Yeah.
same thing.
Not for nothing, I got 483.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I have 1,300 then. I underestimated. Sorry.
Much bigger stuff.
So, and for some reason, I did my personal page as Stephen Bjork with a PH. So if you're looking for me, that's the way to go.
Okay.
All right, excellent. So let's wrap up with our favorite moment.
The funny bad gigs.
Oh,
Which
We
not
say
so funny.
gigs. We say gigs because we know you have more than one.
I do. I've got
And-
definitely more than one.
Yeah.
I'll cut it down to 2.
And as just so our guests know, in case somebody doesn't know what we're talking about, these are the gigs that not so funny while they're happening, make you reconsider your life and career choices while they're happening. But then a couple weeks later, as you're comparing your war stories with your friends in the green room, other comedians that are telling their bad gig stories, you're like, oh, really? Listen to this one. And you one up them with this.
Right.
And this is, that's a great intro, but what you really need to stress is we all love this.
Absolutely.
This
That's why we ask it every
we
week.
revel in our friends' pain.
Absolutely. And then
Right.
when we get together after shows, this is what we're talking about half the time.
Yeah.
But just before you tell that, I remembered this. I was talking about this with a friend of mine recently. When I first started comedy, I was doing like the Mondays and the Tuesday nights at the Connection in Fana Hall. And there was the first time I did a Tuesday night when you got to go from 5 minutes to 7 minutes. I'm going along and I finished my 7 minutes and I was definitely afraid going over because you had Joey Sandagate
Oh, yeah.
would get pissed if you went over your time.
Yes. Well,
So-
any of the club agents, booking managers, booking agents, owners, whatever, back then, all these comics now, they're asking, hey, are you going to give me a light? When are you going to give me a light?
Yes.
It's like a light.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta watch.
Yeah.
No,
Gotta watch. and
I
don't
don't
go 4
understand that.
seconds over. Yeah.
I had my 7 minutes planned out perfectly. Well, at 6 minutes and 45 seconds, I hit my punchline and got a big flat nothing. It was like dead air. And I just stood there for what was the longest second of my life and then went, well, that's my time, folks. Thank you very much. And the biggest laugh I got was, and you guys remember that room, the back corner where all the comics sat
It was all the
watching.
comics, yeah.
They laughed so hard.
Because we love watching our
Because
friends.
comedians- Comedians
There's nothing we
love
enjoy more.
watching that because they all knew exactly what just happened and they loved it. And to me, at first I was horrified, but then afterwards I was like, I don't know, that's kind of cool that all those guys found that funny.
Do you know the first time I ever bombed? Because I had consistently done great every time Mary Ellen Rinaldi, Petrillo, she would hire me to open for her, and I would crush and crush and crush and crush. And then one time I bombed, and I came off stage. She was doubled over laughing at me.
It's great.
The great Ace Aceto has fallen. I love it. It was awesome. And I'm licking my wounds, feeling like a big piece of shit. And she is laughing her ass off at my pain.
Real quick, I was working one time in Lexington, Kentucky, and I was out there for like 5 weeks. It was all going great. This one night, I have no idea why I bombed.
Yeah.
I bombed. I was in the middle. There was an opener and a headliner. After the show, we're all standing together. People are coming up to the headliner. You are unbelievable. You were fantastic. People going up to the opener going, you were really good. You should definitely stick with us. You're going to do fine. They kind of look at me and walk away.
Right? Yeah. Or they give you the
Until
good too.
You get a you too?
until this one lady walks up to the host and goes, you have so much potential. I see you doing great things. Headliner, you were fantastic. And then she looks at me with these soulful eyes and she goes, I thought you were funny.
Yes.
And
Who said that?
That's almost worse.
it was worse.
Yes.
That's what I told her. I said, I would have preferred you to say that.
Oh,
You know who said that? Rich Walker.
yes, it was
Do
Richard.
you know Rich Walker from New York,
I don't think I
Connecticut?
know him.
He said that. He goes, the worst thing is when they come up to you and they go, I thought you were funny.
Well,
Like, don't listen to the rest of the audience.
We had 2 weeks left on that tour.
Oh,
And
man.
it's, the same 2 comedians.
Yeah.
Every night after my set, no matter how well it
Yes.
went, they'd go,
I
I
thought
thought
you were funny.
of course.
because we
That
love
is
watching
the
our
best.
friends bomb.
That's right.
Love pain.
Not only do we love to watch him bomb, but then Dad was a little capper for them. They could just enjoy that.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so that big, all right, hell gig stories. I don't know if you're trying to get on.
No, no, no.
So
Where am I going? Upstairs. I'm going to bed.
When this is over, anyway, let me get into this. So I'm working in South Bend, Indiana, right by Notre Dame, right? So it's this strip mall. This club is in the strip mall.
Yeah.
It probably used to be a 7-Eleven or whatever.
Yeah.
And by the way, strip mall, there was a while I didn't know the difference between strip mall and strip club.
Very different.
I
Very
I
different.
remember I was at my friend's house one time and his mother,
He's at a 7-Eleven tipping the guy down.
Yeah, right.
I'm at my friend's house and his mother goes, I'm gonna be back. I have to run down the strip mall. I was like,
The what?
Did your mom have a second job?
What does your mom do?
So, anyway, so it's this old strip mall and this hole in the wall club, and you walk in and it's like this, it's just unfinished. There's cement floors. The stage is plywood with 2x4s,
Oh,
unfinished. There's 2 cinder blocks on the stage. So I go in there and the tables are all banquet tables. All right?
Yeah.
Now in this club in Indiana at the time, apparently, I don't know if it's still true, but it was legal to sell Everclear.
Oh, really?
It's 100. If you don't know,
Yeah,
it's 190 proof.
The pure grain alcohol.
Pure grain alcohol.
Pure grain alcohol.
And they were smart enough to sell it in these little NyQuil plastic shot glasses,
Oh, perfect.
right? So they wouldn't have to worry about broken glass, I'm sure. So I'm on stage, and the front table's a bunch of Notre Dame students, and they are out of their mind drunk. And and I just saw the bartender just put down a round of Everclear. And at the time, you could still smoke indoors, right?
Yeah.
There's this kid sitting at the table, and he's playing with his Bic lighter, and I'm on stage, and I can see this happen. I see him look at his Bic, I see him look at the shot.
Oh,
He
no.
looks at his Bic, he looks at the shot. He lights a shot,
Yeah.
right? The shot gets on fire,
Mhm.
melts the cup, goes all over the table, flames
Catches to everything.
all over the table, and all of the other Everclears now
Yeah.
melting and catching on fire. The flames are like this high. This is the front. This is in front of
Right
me.
in front of
And
the
you're
stage.
on stage.
I'm on stage. I'm on stage.
And you're the feature.
I think it was the feature.
Yeah.
So I'm on stage, and this happens. And these Notre Dame students, they're so drunk. This was their survival instinct.
Sit back and watch the fire.
That was that's as much as they had. So
Yeah.
now I'm on. And at this point now, I don't know what's my responsibility.
Right.
Do I get everybody in a
Do I
single
yell
file
fire?
line?
Right.
Last one
Do we
out
do a
close the
fire
window?
drill? Yeah, right.
While I'm pondering this, the bartender just casually hops over the bar, grabs a fire extinguisher, comes over. I'm covered
in powder.
with the yellow powder. The Notre Dame students,
I'm still sitting
they're
back.
sitting back, but now they go back to the table.
Oh, okay.
And now they're
Fire's
just looking
out.
at me. The bartender comes and brings them a fresh round.
Oh my
Are
God.
you kidding me?
I have 15 minutes left.
Clearly,
I have to.
they didn't need the second round.
Oh, they did not need. They didn't need the first one. So I had to do 15 minutes. There was no going back to material at that point. I just had to talk about
Fire
the situation
jokes
for
and-
15 minutes because I
Right.
wanted to get paid.
Wow.
So that was.
You mean you didn't do your Tony Montana impression?
I did.
Okay.
So that was a good one. My favorite of all time.
I haven't had fire. I've never had fire on
Well,
stage.
You know, it's not something I'd want to happen again.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, there was
Not asking for it.
that happened, and then like a couple years later was that awful thing with Great White. Not
Yeah.
far
Oh,
from
yeah.
here. So I mean,
Yeah.
there was a while where I didn't tell that story because it got sensitive.
Of course.
Oh, right.
Of course.
But everybody was safe.
Yeah.
We all got covered with powder. We were good. We became non-flammable.
Yeah.
So the other one, connection booked this room on Martha's Vineyard. Actually, I don't even like to say the name of the island, but the statute of limitations has run out. So we're at this club. It's I'm opening at the time. Mike Moto is the middle.
Wow.
Jimmy Smith,
Yeah.
he was there.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a quick Jimmy Smith story, by the way?
Yeah. God rest his soul.
What a great guy.
Yeah.
But just for the purpose of the story, we have to acknowledge Jimmy Smith is a black guy.
Yes.
So I got booked to do this show at BC High School. All right. And the reason I got booked is because I work clean.
Mm-hmm.
There's one joke that I have that's risque, not even dirty, it's risque. So it's a mother-son event. So the two moms who run it, I pull them aside, I go, here's the joke, is that okay? And they're like, totally, you can totally, that's a great joke, you totally do it. So Jimmy's the host. He brings me up, I do my time, I finish with that risque joke. He comes back on, I'm walking off and this old priest gets right in my face. And he goes, when we booked this show, we were told that nobody would be off color. And I turned around, I looked at Jimmy and I said, hey, he's a friend of mine. And I walked away.
And Jimmy must have been dying
Oh,
laughing.
he didn't
right?
hear me. He was upset. I told him after.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Shut him right down.
So,
And blame it on Jimmy.
I love that.
so we're at Martha's Vineyard. I go up, I do my show. It goes very well.
Yeah.
I sit down at the bar, and I had this little tradition at the time. I would do a shot of a Cuervo after each show. So
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, and I order a shot of Cuervo and a beer, and I do the shot, and I'm talking to this waitress, doing well, and I order another shot. Do that, fine. Talking to the waitress, and then the show's over. And the bartender kind of looks around, he goes under the bar, he pulls out this jelly jar full of cloudy liquid. And he puts it in the bar and he grabs a shot glass and he pours me out. I go, you know what, I'm all set. I go, what is that? And he goes, oh, this is moonshine. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want any moonshine. And the waitress now says, oh, I have a friend who comes in here. He drinks this all the time. He loves it. Now I'm thinking, all right,
I'll have two.
macho. I go, you know what? Let me have one.
Yeah.
So he sets it up. I pour it down. It was worse than Everclear. It was, it evaporated every drop of moisture in my whole body.
It was like isopropyl alcohol.
I felt like I looked like the crib keeper.
Yeah.
So I go, that was horrible. Go give Mike one of those.
Yeah.
Mike Moto. So he pours Mike one. Mike goes, what's this? And goes, Steve wants you to have this. And Mike looks at it and proves he's way smarter than me. He goes, I'll do this if Steve does another one. So I go, all right. So and when the second one hits my belly, I realize I've done several shots of Cuervo.
Right.
Now 2
Now
shots of
all of a sudden
moonshine,
you
several
realize-
beers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Within 10 minutes, I'm going to be a blithering idiot.
Right.
I don't want that reputation.
Yep.
I will lose work. So I say to the waitress, I go, you know what? I think I'm gonna go sleep. She said, well, I go, yeah, I think I'm gonna go. So now I go out the front door. Now there's 2 ways. I figure I smell the salt air. I think, you know what? A walk in the beach, great way to sober up.
Yeah.
So I can go down the driveway, make a right turn, and go to the beach.
Yeah.
It's like a block. Or it occurs to me that if I go diagonally through these yards, I can get to the beach. So I decide to go through the yards.
The shortest way to point A to
Shortest
point B is a
exactly.
straight line. That's right.
Exactly. But there's a reason why it wasn't a path.
Yeah.
So the grass is getting taller and taller.
Yeah.
I keep going, and I'm going uphill the whole time, by the way.
You're on dunes.
And all of a sudden now I hit the thorns.
Yeah.
And they're ripping through my pants. They're ripping across my legs.
And there's the welcome to Wareham sign.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
And I look
How did I get
back,
here?
I look back at the hotel and I look at where I can kind of almost see the water. And I'm like, I passed the
halfway
point of no
between.
return.
Yeah.
I might as well
More
just
than half.
push through. I might as well push through. So I push through, going uphill the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's the further away I'm getting from the hotel, the darker it's getting. So I get to this one point, or I can't really see anything, but I'm still walking forward. And all of a sudden I take a step and there's no ground. And I go straight down. I've fallen off a cliff. Now,
How deep? How
Now-
far?
so it's not like a
It's
huge
like a
cliff.
6-foot
It was
cliff.
probably 6 feet, and then
Yeah.
there's this bank. So I didn't smash into the ground. I kind of hit this bank and rolled
And rolled.
into this like swampy river. I stand up, and I don't know if this was sewage treatment or what, but I'm covered with mud and seaweed. I mean, covered head to toe, mud and seaweed. And I go, you know what? Maybe the beach is not a great idea.
Yeah.
So I try to climb the embankment. That's not working. I got to go all the way around. I'm going back to the hotel. So I'm going back to the hotel. And now at this point, I am as drunk as I've ever been. And I'm
Yeah,
going
because
back.
everything's hitting you by
Oh,
now.
now it's all hitting me. So I'm going back and I see, and I'm close to the hotel, and I remember somebody talked about a pool. There's a pool at this hotel. Hey, I'll jump in the pool, get all cleaned off. That way I don't have to worry about getting my room all filthy. So I'm looking for the pool. I don't know where the pool is. But and so there's the hotel, and then there's a bunch of little cottages, individual cottages. And we're in one of those cottages. And I see one cottage, and there's a fence attached to it, like this big fence. So I figure that must be the cabana. You walk through there, get in the pool area.
Mhm.
So I go and I try the door. It's unlocked. I open the door, pitch black, and I hear snoring. I've walked into somebody's cottage.
Covered in seaweed.
I am covered
You're literally
in mud.
like the toxic Avenger.
Yes.
Walking into their room.
And I'm about to walk out, but the light that's shining in, I can see the little college refrigerator on the table, and it occurs to me right then how hungry I am. So I keep going into the room.
Yeah.
The guys, the bed's right here, and the refrigerator is right at the end of the bed, right? So I open up the fridge, and there's 2 packets of cold cuts.
Fucking moonshine. It does that to you every time.
I am not thinking clearly.
Yeah, right.
So I see 2 packages of cold cuts, and I pick them up, and I swear to God, in my inebriated brain, this made sense. If I take them out, I've stolen them.
Right.
If I eat them here,
I'm just showing a little bit.
so I somehow in my mind, I think he'll wake up. I'll be able to explain.
Yeah.
Hey, I was just really hungry. I really appreciate this. I'll replace them. And he'd be like, oh, I get it.
Strange guy,
Because who wouldn't?
smelling like seaweed. And
Who wouldn't when Swamp Thing is in your room?
Exactly.
Eating cold cuts.
Well, but I've forgotten about my appearance.
Right. Yeah.
So
Of course.
I proceed to start eating the cold cuts, slice by slice. I'm kind of looking for bread. I'm not seeing any bread, but slice by slice. And every once in a while I look back, he's still snoring. He's happy,
Yeah.
and I'm happy. And all of a sudden I realize there's 4 slices. I've eaten most of this guy's ham.
You might as well have taken it out of the
I
room.
know, right? So I said, oh, I've eaten enough of this guy's ham. I wrap it up, I put it back, and that's when I see the mud all over the wrapping. And it's like, oh, I forgot what I looked like. And I look down, and in the light that's pouring in, I can see these big puddles where my feet are. Right? So, and I close the fridge, and now the fridge is all covered with mud. And I make my way out.
This
I
is a
get out.
nightmare.
I get out. He never woke up.
Never woke up.
I get out, and I get back to my cottage.
Yeah.
I knock on the door because I lost my key. I knock on the door. I'm sharing the cottage with Mike. Jimmy's got his own. Mike comes to the door. He looks out the curtain and he screams. I go, Mike, it's Steve. And he opens the door, and I go to sleep. And I've never been so hungover on a boat ride home in my life. But here's the moral of this story: lock your doors. Because there's some guy in this country who fully believes that the Swamp Thing broke in.
Yes.
Ate his cold cuts.
Ate a ham. He's convinced of it.
He has told that story.
He told that story.
If he's listening, please let us. I would love to apologize.
Oh my God.
And Steve will reimburse you for your cold cuts.
I would buy you a big ham sandwich.
How fucking crazy would it be if we got an email next week going, I was on Martha's Vineyard.
That would be the greatest moment of this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. We would retire.
Yeah,
We could retire.
If we reconnected Steve
Yes.
with the person he stole his cold cuts from.
Oh my God.
I tried to follow the path of muddy footprints out my door.
I will tell you this: when we got up that morning, Jimmy and Mike went to breakfast. I'm not going to breakfast.
You did not go to breakfast yet. I don't.
You let me know
I
when
don't
the
want
cab
anyone to
is
see
here.
me.
When
Yeah.
the cab is here to bring us to the boat.
Oh my
That's when I'm leaving
God.
this room.
Oh my word.
You know what? It's funny. You're like the second or third person that's brought up Mike Moto, and I used to work with him all the time when I first started, and then we did there was a taping for Comedy Central when it was the Comedy Channel, and he was on it and I was on it, and then all of a sudden I haven't seen him in years. I looked him up online because when we asked the funny bad gig story to Mike McDonald,
Oh my word.
Mike McDonald was like, all right, I'm not gonna tell you one of my funny bad gig stories, but I've got 3 Mike Moto funny bad gig stories. And they were hilarious stories that I wanna fucking get him on the podcast.
I think he's in San Francisco.
I think he is, but I reached
on the
out,
West Coast.
I reached out to him on his website and asked him if he would be on, but I never got a response. But, you know, I don't know if he'll remember me from, 5 shows that we did back in '89,
All I know is, Swamp Thing eating cold cuts is
Swamp,
definitely
yes,
gonna make our
that's gonna make our
year
year-end.
end.
Absolutely.
Because that, what I love about the funny bad gig story, we talk about it all the time, is not only have we will never run out of them.
Right.
No,
We've never run out of different ones.
right.
Because no one has told us of a
story
muddy
when they
eating
got so
cold cuts
yeah.
story. And I don't think anybody will,
I don't think
tell something like
I
that
don't think
before.
so either.
Well, and the funny thing about that bad gig story is the gig actually was good. I went out of my way to make it.
Yes,
yeah, right.
And that's the thing about funny bad gigs is sometimes it's a bad audience, sometimes it's a bad setup, sometimes we're the assholes. That caused all the problems. You never know what the scenarios.
I told the story before. I did a college one time. It went great. It was way up in northern Maine. Went great. Get to the hotel or motel that they put me in, and they go, "Yeah, you're in room 2." I go, "Oh, all right." I go to room 2. Room 1 is not being used. It's being used for storage. So there's no heat or anything in room 1. And then I look in room 2, and there is a full 6 inches under the door between room 1 and room 2. I fucking froze all night because the draft coming from room 1 into room 2 was so bad. I was like, I almost thought of just sleeping in my car. I froze.
It's a good hotel when the room numbers are single digits.
Yes, exactly. Maybe double, but no more than that.
I got put up in an Econo Lodge in upstate New York one time for a gig that when I checked into my room, I said, I'll shower before the show. And when I opened the curtain of the shower, it looked like Jeffrey Dahmer.
I'm not even going to take a shit in this room.
No, right,
Seriously.
exactly.
I'm like, I'm not even showering.
I'm not even shitting in the shower.
Exactly.
I washed
Somebody beat you to it.
Yeah,
washed my face in the sink real quick. I changed. I took all my stuff out with me when I went to the show, and I drove all the way home from the show. I never even stayed in the hotel.
The rooms that I used to get when I was traveling in the Midwest.
Yeah.
There was one time, Kearney, Nebraska. I check in, it's really late at night. So I don't really.
You're disoriented.
and
You don't
here's-
even know where you're going.
And here's the the indication that it's a beautiful hotel. Your door is outside. It's not in the hallway, it's outside.
Yeah, right.
So I open the door and the
When
bed.
it opens to the parking lot, you
Yes.
know it's a good
It's
place.
a motel.
It's a good place.
So
It's an L-shaped motel.
and the bed had literally this huge. I was sleeping in a hammock
Yeah.
on a bed frame.
On the mattress.
Basically.
Yeah, right.
And then the next morning, I come out of my room, and the cows were at the end of the motel. Like this is, I don't know, combination motel slaughterhouse. I don't know, but the cows were right there.
Yeah, if you've essentially stayed at the Rosebud Motel from
Yeah, right.
Schitt's Creek, we've seen them all.
We've seen
yeah.
worse than that.
Exactly. Yeah,
You
that was
probably
nice.
stayed at a few comedy condos.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah, you want to bring flip flops to those places.
yeah.
That's it.
Just to get in bed.
Yes.
Yeah, forget the shower.
I did a gig in upstate New York with Stephanie Peters, and they had a place above the theater we were in. And she goes, "Hey, when you come, bring your own sheets." And
I've been to those. I've been to one
And
of
I'm
those.
like, "What?" She goes, "You do not want to sleep on the bedding. Bring your own bedding or
Yep.
sleeping bag." So I brought a sleeping bag and a pillow. And when I got there, I knew exactly what she meant. She's like, "You do not want to sleep in their stuff." So, yeah, it's amazing what you see when you're out there that people don't realize. Oh, you get to work on the road. You get to see the country.
It's so glamorous.
Look, every once in a while, like when I worked at the Borgata in Atlantic City,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
There have been, believe it or not, Rapid City, South Dakota, beautiful accommodations,
Yeah.
but not all the time.
No.
The vast
No.
majority.
For every one of those,
There's 10 other
Carney
shit
Nebraska.
places.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you
So-
remember, I mean, I used to love going to the Portland Comedy Connection when they put you up at the Eastland Park, big
Sure.
old hotel, beautiful, whole weekend. You'd stay there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, awesome.
Yeah.
And oh, God, I miss that. I
Oh, that
miss that
room.
place.
Oh, yeah.
Just performing in the room. never mind the
Forget the
accommodations.
accommodations,
Right.
but it was so much fun.
Yeah. So
Wow.
anyway, it was awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank you so much for coming back on, especially because.
Oh, I'm thrilled I'm glad to be here, guys. I will, we've been on this, I want to use the restroom. Is there a
Yeah,
plunger in
it's-
the restroom?
There is a plunger in the
Just-
restroom.
No reason.
Don't use the toilet in the dining room, please, because it's not hooked up, because
Oh, now you're telling
I'm
me.
still having issues.
Now you're telling me.
Okay,
A little late.
yeah, okay. No, we really appreciate you coming back on and dealing with our, evidently you, like I said, you have a magnetic field around you because
Yeah,
we
Magneto over here
we-
crashed the podcast once again.
crashed the podcast again. I don't know how the fuck you did that.
That's
but
my gimmick.
crashed my internet. I don't know how.
That's pretty good there, Fred Flintstone. Thank
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
so much, so.
Yeah, thanks. Robert,
Anyway,
for
I
that.
hope you guys enjoyed that as much as we did.
Forgetting this
We
camera.
love having, Steve, we love working with you. We love having you
Yeah.
on tonight. Thank you so much.
I love you guys.
Thank you so
We love
much.
you too.
All of you that tuned in tonight, thank you for joining us live. Again, if you want to watch us live, please join us at Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling on twitch.tv or follow us on Facebook at Behind the Funny Podcast. And if you want to help out the podcast, the best way to help us out, wherever you listen to your podcast, wherever you download your podcast, give us that 5-star written review. Quick sentence and 5 stars all at once
And remember,
is a
If-
big help for the podcast.
yes, even though right now it is March 30th, if we get
Well, we
20,
don't, that's not.
no, if we get
Ace,
25
it's not important.
5-star written reviews by the end of April, Scott will model a behind the funny bikini.
All right, so I'm going to ask all of our listeners, please do not provide a 5-star.
No, we want this. We want this. It's on.
Ace has never wanted anything more than he wants.
So
this
really, it's
right
only
I
25.
don't want to be in
That's your
the,
threshold, Scott?
yes,
You're
I don't want to be in the same room when he models it, but I want him to model.
Because
it.
you're
Oh,
not sure,
no,
because
no.
you're not sure
Yes.
you can control
If
yourself.
No, exactly. Yes.
If I have to model it,
I have to.
You're getting the
What do you
lap
want me to-
dance.
What do you want me to tie? I ain't getting a fucking lap
you're getting
dance.
the fucking lap
I'll
dance.
tie the back for you.
All right,
How's
look,
that?
all right, let me add a little something. So 25 reviews bikini. How about 30 bikini Speedo?
If we get 30,
Ooh.
I'll wear a behind the funny Speedo. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
50
gonna
for
happen.
50, I will wear a very bulky behind the funny
Behind the funny.
sweatshirt.
All right.
Don't go
50.
crazy. Don't
Yeah,
go
calm
crazy.
down,
Go
calm
easy.
down. Yeah.
For 50, I'll go topless when I
Yeah.
wear the bikini.
Oh my God.
I'll go topless.
Oh my God. I hope we don't get these. I've never not wanted it. No. If we get 25, Scott wears a bikini. If we get 30, I wear a Speedo. That's fine. That's
Yeah,
fair.
that's fair
I'll
enough.
do that.
And Mike Murray will make them for us so they sublimated.
Sublimated, because that shit won't crack or peel. That's what
I love to bait
sublimation
him.
is.
I love baiting him, getting him to
Yeah.
talk like that.
That's right.
I think that's laminated.
No,
No,
sublimated. Sublimated means you can put it in the dishwasher. It's a tumbler, like a coffee tumbler, and it won't even crack or peel. That's what I'm saying.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
Oh,
I haven't seen him
Christ.
forever. I miss him. Anyway,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
We gotta get him back.
No,
I'm
that's
prolonging
fine.
this on you guys.
No, we're having fun. You
But again,
Right.
thank you everyone for tuning in. Don't forget the 5-star reviews. And Ace,
other than that,
we'll talk to you
next week.